Glad you guys came out. Appreciate it. I, of course, mainly throw the Z-Man, the expensive one. You know, the jackhammer. There's a bunch of different types out there. I've used them all. Except for the Thunder Cricket. I have not thrown that because I can't get my hands off of these jackhammers. It's all I keep in the box anymore. Tournament-wise, fun fishing, videoing, whatever. And those jackhammers, for some reason, just, there's something special about them. I don't know if you guys know, but that blade actually swings and hits the head. And it makes a unique sound. I wish I could explain it a little bit better, but that's it. I mean, there's something unique about those. Trailer-wise, you can throw any type of trailer you want. You can throw from a worm to a fluke. You can put anything you want on that bait. But you want to throw what you have confidence in. And the things you're going to learn today from me are what I throw on. I throw these and these. This is a B&M bait. These are young swim dingers. That is one of my favorites. I'm going to tell you now. It's a small profile bait. I'll usually clip about an inch of that bait off, put it on a 3/8 jackhammer, and go to town. My two favorite colors, green pumpkin and white. The Kitech swim baits are a phenomenal trailer too. They're super soft. You know, those jackhammers, they have a double keeper to hold your plastics on. It's a very good bait for your plastics. They stay on pretty well. A lot of times they'll short nip it, bite the tails off of them. But to be honest with you, between these, the young, and I have thrown quite a few of the B&M baits because they just work for me. I can't say I'm missing out because there's so many more I don't try. That's the thing, you just got to get out there and try it and see what works for you. When I throw, I got a 7/6 rod. It's just a bulldog rod. The reel, 7-1, but braid. I'm that guy that throws braid like you wouldn't believe. Spinning rods, bait casters, I'm that guy. I don't tie knots like Dave does. I don't do it. I either use straight fluorocarbon or I use braid. And probably 93% of my rods all have straight braid on it. Whether I'm throwing a swim bait, chatterbait, jigs, it doesn't matter. I found over the years that I'm able to retrieve my baits better. I don't lose fish from them breaking off, and that's key. The knot I use is a Palomar knot, and I always burn the end so it balls up. I've pulled these jackhammers out of lily pads and off of logs and bent that clip, broke that clip, done everything to that clip. Chatterbait usually comes back pretty good. I broke off, you know, because I'll give it all she's got until that braid breaks. But that braid has no stretch, as you've heard from everybody else. It rips through lily pads like there's no tomorrow. And in the springtime, that's where I'm keying on them fish. Up in the lily pad stalks that are just starting to grow up. You know, when that water hits 40 degrees, 43, that chatterbait's dead. From there to 90, back to 40. I always have one tied out. Always. You can cover so much water with these things, it's crazy. You know, some of the secrets about throwing these though, we'll get into that a little bit. But why throw one of these, you know, over a spinnerbait, let's say. I'm not a spinnerbait guy, never have been. I like throwing them at night, that's about it. These baits come through so much stuff. The one thing they don't like is wood. They'll stick to wood like glue. You know, hopefully they come out with a keeper on them, or I can come up with something for bait or something, but these things just, they love wood. At any time during this, you guys have a question, if I get going too fast, just blabbering away, stop me. All right? I have no problem going back to where I was.
What's that burning it off thing? What's that? All right.
Well, when I tie the knot, you know, I don't use clippers. I'll just use a lighter and burn it. If you want to see it, it actually creates a ball. And what it is you won't be able to pull that through the line. You know how some knots slip and if they come through? You will not be able to do that. Anybody else want to look at that? If you've never seen it?
Rope on.
Yeah, it just burns like a rope. Yep, absolutely. And you won't be able to pull that through. It will not slip through now.
Is that just for braid?
I've never done it with any other line.
Fluorocarbon?
Yeah, you know, scissors work good. It's just braid. I never want to.
The ball that you're focusing on, you could probably do that with poly or fluorocarbon too, right?
I couldn't answer that. I've never tried.
Yeah.
I've never tried.
I knew I could get you if I just tried it.
I'm 90-something% braid. If I'm throwing fluorocarbon, I'm nipping it and I'm going. You know. Other than that, I'm gonna pick up a braid rod. I guarantee you. Whether it's a spinning or, you know, a bait casting rod, it doesn't matter to me. You know, some of these guys have been, Mr. Bucks, he's been in the boat with me a million times and he just shakes his head at me all the time. I put my baits on upside down, you know, I'm throwing braid in clear water. It's what I do, you know. And the one thing I've learned over the years is you gotta have something a little different. You do. To do any good out there against, you know, some of these guys, I mean, some of these guys in here are hammers, there's no doubt about it, you know. And to beat them guys, you got to be doing something different. Whether it's putting the bait on upside down or mismatching colors or using a weight nobody else is, you know, using. Me, I like to throw heavy jigs around docks. A lot of guys won't do that. It's not going to happen, you know. The lighter, the easier it is to do it. It's a workout for me. I mean, Mr. Buss is getting in tune with it. He did real well last year. I was impressed finally. Sorry, buddy. But like I said, you know, and the versatility of this bait it's crazy, you know, because you can buy them from quarter ounce to ounce and a half. And there's a purpose for every one of them, to be honest with you. You know, the lighter stuff, it's great for around docks. I mainly throw a 3/8. But there's times you grab a 1/2 ounce, 3/4, down south a 1 ounce. You want it on the bottom, that one's gonna stay down there. Slow retrieve on the bottom, dragging it, cocking it, you can work it just like a blade bait or anything else. There's no wrong way to fish these. There truly isn't. What you want to look for is what that fish is telling you. Fast retrieve, slow retrieve, wind and stop, wind and stop. They'll let you know one way or another. Like you said, you haven't had much success. It's just hard for me to believe sometimes, but I hear it more and more, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not telling you to go out and buy the jackhammers because they're not cheap, but that's the best one I've ever used. I've never thrown a thunder cricket. I can't get away from these, you know. The places I throw them, you know, usually you're starting off like everybody else. You're baiting banks, shorelines, pads, weeds, docks, something like that. The one trick, it's not a trick, it's just something I do different than a lot of people, is honestly when I'm fishing this bait, and I fish some of the ILFs, I don't know if you guys know what those are, but they're some good competition in that. And guys were, you know, they go in periods, just like the MLF does. So they know what you're doing, because they can see you around the lake. We're not fishing these major big lakes. So yeah, he's throwing a chatterbait. Well, they can come behind me or I can go behind them. It doesn't matter. I was still, each quarter, I would just move up. And it was just simple things I was doing, to be honest with you. You know, you come up on a seawall. Most guys, they're going to cast right there. They don't want to put that $15 bait against that wall. You know what I'm saying? I beat the paint off of them. Because that first foot is golden. And many, many people miss that. You know, so if I'm casting, yeah, I'm gonna beat that wall and I'm gonna pull it, I'm gonna let it set right there and I'm gonna pull it. Because that first foot, you're gonna catch so many more fish, it's unreal. You get you a concrete wall, don't be afraid. Throw it on top of it, let it set on top, pull it off, let it drop right there. Then start working it. Because that first 2 or 3 cranks, you're gonna see one hell of a difference. And honest to God, I've seen it over and over during those tournaments especially. Guys are afraid to hurt that lure. You know, don't be afraid to beat that lure up. They're pretty durable. Sometimes, I mean, you beat it up so much, you get a better vibration out of it. I mean, there's times where that rod's going like this, you know, when you're reeling it in, to this, because you banged it up so much. Like I said, colors to throw, I stick with green, pumpkin, and white. Maybe the silver one from time to time. Those are my main 3 baits. Or colors of bait, should I say. I know Terry likes blue and black. I'm just not a blue and black guy when it comes to chatterbaits. But I've been beat by Terry with that blue and black one too. So I can't say there's nothing wrong with it. But like I said, a lot of it's a trailer. You can trim your skirts down, keep an eye on which trailer you're using. You know, if they're short nipping you, shorten that bait up. Some of them like it longer, make it longer. I mean, there's so many things you can do with these chatterbaits. They amaze me. They really do. I mean, since I started using them, I was always the guy that bought the cheaper stuff because everything I own is cheap. Mr. Buss will tell you that. I don't have any good equipment. You know, the reels of, if I even pronounce it right, a Piscum, 3 for $99 to the front door. You can't beat them. But to spend that kind of money, I understand. It's hard to sometimes. And especially to go out and just chuck it around and end up losing it. That's why I'm telling you, I throw it on braid. I don't worry about it. 9 times out of 10, it's 20-pound braid is what I throw my chatterbaits on. Doesn't matter how clear the water is. Wawasee, Maxie, I don't care. Those fish don't care. It's a moving bait. You know? But when I'm jig fishing, I'm 40-pound braid. Under docks and pontoons. That's the God's honest truth. You can hit me up at the lake anytime you want. There's no BS there.
What kind of braid do you throw?
I've thrown Power Pro for years. I haven't tried anybody else's. I know there's a ton out there now. But I've thrown Power Pro forever. So it's just something I stick with. Anybody else throw a lot of braid or hardly anybody? Throw a lot of braid?
Yeah, I used 30-pound braid, vacuum, straight to the hooks.
Sure.
And then had an effective thing, no matter what.
No. A lot of the swim jigging I do. Lake Maxicutty's prime example. Super clear water, smallmouth. Most of the flats are 5, 6, 7 foot. You know, I'm straight braid. It might be 10 or 15 pound, but it's straight braid. There's no leader. I do it all the time. Mr. Buss don't like it, but it happens.
When and where do you throw it? Springtime. Especially those who don't have a lot of experience with it and a lot of confidence with it.
Chatterbait?
Yeah, you're not going out in the middle of Lake Mexico, so where are you throwing that thing?
I would hit the coves, channels. I wouldn't be too worried about, you know, a lot of people think wintertime fish, when it's cold, springtime's coming, blah, 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 then fish are out deep still. Them fish aren't deep. There's a majority of them that live shallow. Period. I mean, I remember me and you were out 2 foot of water, catching them a couple years back on a Wawasee. And, you know, water was still in the 40s. I try to hit everything, whether it's lily pads, clumps of weeds, brush. I mean, like I said, they're magnets for brush. They get hooked up on them good. But if you're not hitting stuff with that bait and making it dark, this, that, you're missing out. You know, I had some guy commented on Facebook one time, you know, I try to stay away from the weeds. Big mistake. You want in them weeds. Rip that bait out of them weeds. You can fish that bait in 2 foot of water down to 50 foot of water. That bait's designed to do it. And everywhere in between. If there's one bait I'm gonna have on the deck, that's it. And I'm that guy that only has 3 or 4 rods on the deck all the time that Terry was talking about earlier. I don't have that many out there. Go ahead.
What about your blade? That one looks like it's black or green. You ever paint them or
It's
gold,
green
silver?
pumpkin, they come that way.
You never change them to gold, silver, spray paint them?
I don't. You know, some of the other colors, the white and some of the baits with the chartreuse, they have gold and silver blades on those baits. I've never changed them because the way they make them, they're basically built on that jig. Like I said, I don't know if I didn't show you guys. If anybody's interested on how that thing hits that head.
They gave me one last spring that's still tied on the rod.
Yeah.
And it beat all day. But it still catches fish.
They work. They truly work, guys, and that's all I can say is, you know, if you're struggling with them, you got to change your retrieve. Maybe you're sticking with too much of one retrieve. You're not putting it in the weeds enough. You know, get out there, cast it out, let it hit the bottom, bring it up, let it fall, like jig fishing or blade bait fishing. There's no wrong way to fish it. Absolutely no way wrong. Such his way, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying, you know, most guys throw fluorocarbon line, this, that. It's just me. The braid is so much more effective for me. There's no stretch. I can rip it through the weeds. I can rip it. I mean, you take 20-pound braid, it'll rip through pads or anything. It just cuts them clean, you know. And that's one of the biggest features I found with it. And springtime, I mean, I've done one chatterbait video that I know of that shows the pads that we were fishing in. You know, they weren't to the top of the water yet, so it's still pretty chilly. Them fish are all over those things. You wouldn't believe the life inside those pad stalks at that time of year. You know, until you get up there and try it. Sir.
Who's the best looking fisherman you've ever been in a boat with?
My wife. Anyway, won that tournament.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, my wife. Now, the loudest, you. Does anybody have any other questions, period? I'm here to feed you whatever you need to know. You got any questions? It doesn't even have to be on chatterbaits.
When you start out the day, how much are you varying that retriever? You just start out steady retrieve till you get a bite, or you try to?
We all have our first go-to retrieve, no matter what, you know, and you got to try to adjust from there. You know, if you're not getting bit, you may want to switch colors. You may want to change your retrieve. You know, like I said, I stick with white and green pumpkin as far as chatterbaits. I truly, truly do. Every now and then silver, if they're out, you know, busting shad or something on top, you want to zing one out there in 30 foot of water and bring it back. You want it more shad looking than anything. But smallmouth, largemouth, they love these baits. They truly love these baits. You know, some of the baits have a slender profile, some of them have a fatter one. These are just some that I brought, but you, excuse me, you guys know there's millions of them. There's no wrong trailer to put on there. Who says so? Andy Bus tells me I put mine on upside down.
You do.
You know? I don't know. That's the way I do it, and I do it every time.
All right,
So-
question, you ever take the skirt completely off and just go to the trailer?
No, I have some that the skirts are beat up on. I'm going to do a little experiment with them this year. I also noticed that Z-Man come out with a small one. I don't know if you guys realize that or not, that I'm excited about to try this year. Yeah, they're small, and there's just a blade to jig hit. So you can put just about whatever you want on there. But I have not, but like I said, I got 5 or 6 that I'm going to experiment with a little this year. Maybe tie some different skirts and different colors. Because generally, it's right out of the pack. And that's the God's truth. You can't beat that bait right out of the pack.
Looked at that one this year too. It's got like a little narrower blade. You finesse jackhammer or something. I can tell a little different blade on it.
Clear blade one.
Clear blade.
Oh, clear bladed one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's hard for me to get this out of my hands. I mean, I'm not going to go buy a bunch more, you know. just to try them, because I know these work. I've had great success with these, everywhere I've been. It's a bait you can fish literally up to 30 foot deep, or more, you know. It's finding out how the fish are gonna bite. That's the biggest key, you know. We talked about retrieve. Everybody's got their standard, get up in the morning, go fishing, and okay, I'm gonna chuck this for a while, you know. You gotta let the fish tell you how they want them, period. That's with any bait, to be honest with you, you know.
You up in line size to go shallower on any of it anytime, or just retrieve faster, or?
If what?
You
I'm
up
sorry.
in line size to keep it shallower, or up, down size?
I strictly throw 20-pound test.
Half ounce all the time?
I'm 3/8 most of the time. I'll go to half ounce if I want to run a little deeper. You know, the heavier you go, that bait's going to run a little bit deeper on the same retrieve, just because of the weight difference. But I'm a real strong 3/8 ounce guy for shallow. People have been in the boat with me and throw half ounce and they're having trouble sticking to the bottom too much, so. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay.
When you're fishing with Andy, what brand earplugs do you use?
I actually like his humor, believe that or not. Maybe it's just because I've been around him a little while. You know, he did make me a little more popular back in the day.
Who is that guy you're talking about? Who is that?
Yeah, who is that?
But no, if there's any question, like I said.
Yeah, you say you go into a cove and start slinging around. Thanks a lot for that detail. But what exactly are you what are you doing in a cove? You in the middle of the gosh darn cove? You keep talking about lily pads. You throwing these in the middle of a thick lily pad field? Come on. Give me some details here. Give me the
if they're
green.
not up yet, mister.
Huh?
I'm talking if the pads aren't up yet.
Okay.
If you know the lake and you know where them pads are growing, get there. If them pads are under the water, you want to be bringing that bait through.
Before they get to the surface.
Before they get to the surface. I'm talking early, like I said earlier.
And your retrieve speed, what gear ratio do you use on that reel?
7 to 1.
Wow.
I can slow it down, you know. It's not that hard. I don't need a special reel for it.
I can't.
I'm being honest. I mean, most of my stuff is all 7 to 1. I want to get them in the boat. The thing is, you lose a lot of fish on these, to be honest with you. I believe the barb should be a little bigger on them. You know, the thing I try to do is wrench them to the boat, hook them and get them in. Because if you play them, they love to throw them baits for some reason. I can't figure it out. I think it's a 4-aught hook, but they fly out of them.
You ever throw a trailer hook?
No, never have. Simply because, you know, I'm sure it would affect the trailer body, the movement of it. You know, there's a few different ways of the way the fish hit these baits too. You know, you could be cruising along and all of a sudden that rod just kind of load up. You know, you'll never feel a tick or a hit or anything. You know, it's like a chunk of weeds is just got on. There's times they'll push that bait. And what I mean by pushing that bait is you be going along, you just be clicking and you're feeling that vibration. All of a sudden that vibration either stops or it's just not as much as it was. And all of a sudden that rod just goes a little limp. They're pushing that bait towards you. You know, you don't hook them fast enough, they're gonna just let her go. There's times they'll rip the rod out of your hand too. You know, to me it's one of my best baits. It truly is. Over the last few years, I've done very, very well throwing these baits. And there's nothing I do to them except for maybe trim the skirt down a hair. But once I find trailers that work, I stick with them. That's sometimes the hardest thing is finding your thing, your area. You know, all these trailers work. You find out that you have more confidence in one, you're gonna throw it a lot more often than you won't, you know, you would some of these other ones. You know how quick we change colors. It ain't working. We need to swap. So you get out there and practice or play around. Stick with the color. Make it work. Try different stuff with it before you switch. Anything else, Mr. Bus?
I'd love to see some of it on film.
can't help you there.
I think we can.
We can make it happen. You guys want to see one of those videos about spinnerbaits?
Only if it has me.
For those of you who don't know, I do have a YouTube channel. I just started last March. Mr. Bus has been a huge help with that. All you gotta do is YouTube Jim Wheeler Fishing. I'm trying. I literally put a lot into them. I don't do a lot of just fish catching and laughing like somebody else around here does. So I try to put a little extra in it. But like I said, any other questions on anything? Jigs, I love jigs too. But I'm
How
not.
many jigs you go through the day because if you tear that brush guard off of there,
Depends.
put in dock.
Yeah, I'm a guy that pulls the weed guard out. I never use a weed guard on a jig.
Oh, yeah.
Never. I make my own now and I don't put one in. I leave it out. So yeah, I lose a few.
Keep it moving.
I lose a few. I catch a few fish too.
You didn't answer my question.
Nope.
More than one, but less than 100, right?
Yes. Put it this way, I got more in the bag.
And like Jim was saying on his YouTube video, anytime you guys are in the store, Gary and them are always playing like his videos. I've been on a few of them, Dave's been on a few, or Andy's. They try to show videos from guys either around this area, same with the crappie guys, all that. So anytime you're in there, you see a video, it's guys fishing the same lakes that you fish.
Yeah, it's
Whether
mainly
it be
local
bass
lakes.
fishing or crappie fishing. Or...
The only thing is, I'm from Valpo, so some of those, Lake Michigan, you know, lakes by the house, but most of my tournament fishing, everything's Wawasee area, you know, Syracuse area, and everything this way. I don't get south a ton, but trust me, I'm easy to get a hold of. Just friend me on Facebook if nothing else, and hit me up if you got any questions. Trust me, I answer them all day from all kinds of people. You know, if that's what you want my information, I'll give it to you, and I'll be honest with you. You know, I have nothing to hide except for the bus. So.
You said those two colors, you used one in the spring and then the white one in the fall?
No, I use them all year together. I'll have two of them usually tied on, a white and a green pumpkin. But those baits work from spring to fall, period. You get out there on a super hot summer morning and just beat that shoreline to death. Docks, weeds, you know. You'll find out on whatever water you're on where they're at and where they're not, for sure. But like I said, the biggest key I can tell you is, for me, braid is just fantastic for throwing these baits. You'll save a few of them. Trust me. Exactly. Yep.
It's that good looking guy.
Throwing that heavy one.
Uh-huh.
I said, you're throwing that heavy one.
What's that?
Want to appreciate everybody coming though. Like I said, if there's anything you want to know, please ask. Appreciate these guys for putting this on. Nice. This worked out well. This really did.
This way he does mine.
Try. Back with us now.
I let them catch all the little ones and then I come into play.